Okay, welcome to 7.5. This is the lesson for Friday. Hopefully, you're going to have a great day on Friday. This is 7.5. You're going to have a sub as we are playing. We got 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. games. Hopefully, we do well. So here we go. 7.5. As I look at it, as I see, we are solving inverse functions. Okay, inverse functions. So what that really is an inverse is going to be this symbol right there. The f to negative 1 means inverse of the f to the f or f to the x function. Okay, so if I have an f to an x and I ask to do the inverse, this is what we're getting ready to do today. So just remember, f to the negative 1x means inverse of the f to the x function. All right, there's some clear steps for it. The first step is replace f of x with y. Okay, that's the first step. Step 2, switch the x and the y. So you're just going to switch places. Step 3, solve for y. Guys, this is really going to be somewhat simple if you can just follow along, work a few problems, do a little bit of work. This should be relatively easy for you. Okay? So let's look at the first one. F of x equals 4x. Okay, and I want to find the inverse of x of x. So what does it say to do? The first one, it says replace f of x with y. So I'll replace f of x with y, so y equals 4x. That was step 1. Step 2, switch the x and the y. Okay, so y becomes x, x becomes y, just like that. Step 3, solve for y. So I want to do step 3, solve for y. Well, step 2 had me at x equals 4y, right? Now I need to solve for y. Well, here, that means get y by itself, right? Solve for y just means get y by itself. Well, if it's attached to 4 right now, I would simply divide by 4, divide by 4. So my answer is going to be y equals x divided by 4. That would be the inverse of f of x equals 4x. Y would be equal to x over 4. That is the inverse of that. All right, let's move to the second one. The next one says f of x equals a negative 4 plus 3x divided by 4. Step 1. I'm going to do it in blue. Step 1 says replace f of x with y. So f of x becomes y equals negative 4 plus 3x all divided by 4. Step 2, switch the x and y. This becomes x. This becomes y. Okay. From here, step 3, solve for y. Okay, so solve for y. I'm going to go ahead and erase this. We've already done this one. Gives me a little bit of room. Okay, now let's look at this. Solve for y. y of x equals a negative 4 plus 3y all over 4. Well, remember in our brains, we got to remember in algebra, we have a denominator here. How do I get rid of the denominator? I'm going to multiply both sides by that denominator, which means I need to multiply the x by 4. So 4 times the x must be equal to the negative 4 plus 3y divided by 4. All of that is going to be multiplied by 4. Okay? So what does that do? Well, that gives me 4x on the left-hand side. The 4 and the 4 cancel each other out, leaving me just negative 4 plus 3y. Well, I've got 3y, and it's added to a negative 4. Well, I want to go ahead and move that 4 to the other side. Since it's negative, I must add it to the other side. So that becomes 4x plus 4 equals 3y. I have the y attached to the 3 by multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is to divide. So divide by 3, divide by 3. So what is my answer? Well, my answer is y equals 4x plus 4 all over 3. That is my inverse function of f of x being equal to negative 4 plus 3x divided by 4. All right, let's do a couple more. The next one, f of x equals a negative x minus 5. And I want to find the inverse of that. I want to find f to negative 1, so the inverse of it. So step 1 again is replace f of x with y. So this becomes y equals a negative x minus 5. Step 2, replace the y and the x, switch them. This becomes x. This becomes y. So x is now equal to a negative y minus 5. Now solve, which is step 3, is solve for y. Well, when I see this, I go to negative y minus 5. Well, I'm going to go ahead and add 5 to both sides. This becomes x plus 5 equals a negative y. Now I've got a negative y, and I can't have a negative y. I want y by itself. So I can go ahead and divide this by negative 1 and divide by negative 1, right? And really, what is that saying? Well, that's saying that all of my x plus 5 is divided by negative y. So y is going to be equal to all of my x plus 5 divided by negative 1. Well, really, what is that saying? Okay? I would have this as y equals, that negative 1 is going to change both of their signs, right? So negative 1 becomes a negative x minus 5. I would have been okay if you just recognized that y is going to be equal to a negative outside of x plus 5. Either one of these would work for me. They both say the same thing. They are the same thing. I think it's easier to go ahead and divide that by the negative 1, which means I'm going to go ahead and change both of those signs. Okay? Don't get tripped up by negatives in the bottom. Make sure you just go ahead and distribute it through. Okay? Next one. F of x is equal to 2 plus 1/2 x. 2 plus 1/2 x. As I'm erasing this to give myself some more room to solve this, I want to go ahead and remind you, you can always rewind, stop, do all that kind of stuff. Just making sure that you keep up with me. If you need more time to do it. You know, maybe work the problem, see if you get to the same answer I do. That way you understand what you're doing. Any of those works for me? Okay, so step 1, replace f of x with y. So this becomes y equals 2 plus 1/2 x. Switch the y and the x. X equals 2 plus 1/2 y. Step 3, solve for y. Solve for y. Here we go. Well, I see x equals 2 plus 1/2 y. I want to go ahead and move this 2 to the other side. So this becomes negative 2, because 2 is positive, the opposite of positive is negative. Subtract it. What I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other. This becomes x minus 2 equals 1/2 y. Now, I have 1/2 y. Well, what is 1/2? Okay. Well, notice that I've got it written as 1/2 y. Well, in your brain, remember that I could write this as 1y over 2. Well, what is my denominator here? It's a 2. And I don't want a 2, right? I don't want a denominator. So I can go ahead and, I'll do this in a different color pen, go ahead and multiply by that denominator, which means I'm going to multiply this side by 2, which means I have to multiply this side by 2. Okay? When I do this, I'm going to do another pen so you can see all the different colors. 2 times x, if I distribute the 2 with the x, becomes 2x. Distribute the 2 with the negative 2 becomes negative 4. And 1/2 times 2. Well, what's half of 2? Just 1. So y equals 2x minus 4. And there's my solution. This would be everything we needed is right there. All right, this is your set of notes. We're at about the 10-minute mark. Hey, please make sure that you work on this stuff. This is some very easy stuff. You should be able to get this. Work hard. We'll see you on Monday.